afternoon all and morning all to those on the West Coast. I'm David. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Upright. And today we're going to walk through how to optimize your e-commerce for growth. To start, I want to introduce my co-panelists who I believe some of you may have met in previous webinars, Darlene and John. So I'll let Darlene go ahead and introduce herself, and then John will go ahead.
Thanks, David. I think I know most of you on this call. My name is Darlene McQueen. I'm a solution advisor for Retail Control Systems. Retail Control Systems today works with roughly about 25 Goodwills across the US, providing software solutions and so forth. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And over to John.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I've been glad to be a part of this series. I hope it's been worth your time and you're learning a lot from it. I know that I am. My background, 35 years of leadership in the IT world, with the last 17 years of my professional career dedicated to the thrift industry. 10 years leading IT for Savers, and then almost 3 years as a CIO and Senior Vice President of Strategy for Goodwill in Phoenix. And in between, I started a management consulting group called Tri-Top Management Group, and am available and worked with many for-profits and many nonprofits, and I've seen just about it all from the retail merchandising in the front end to optimizing your back end and raw material yields and production, and excited now that we're moving into the e-commerce space. A lot of thorny opportunities in this industry, but some really major trends in terms of fully optimizing your product with things like salvage grading and e-commerce to continue to evolve and be relevant to the business. So I'm glad to answer any questions and available to help on a consulting basis. Just track me down through email.
Sounds great. Thanks both, and both of them will be available to answer questions at the end as well as during. So if anyone has questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in chat, and we'll try to answer them during or after. So, why even am I speaking, right? Who am I? Why should you even trust what I'm about to tell you? So to give you some context, we worked over 65 Goodwills across the US. Over 75% of Salvation Army stores utilize our system. We work with for-profit thrift stores as well as pawn stores across the US. Last year, we facilitated over 1 million shipments through our system, over $150 million in products sold through our software. We designed and launched over 2 million square feet of e-commerce space specifically for secondhand. And most importantly, prior to actually running Upright, I was buying and selling inventory myself. And so this actually started in college. To give you a little quick story, in college, I couldn't afford a Patagonia T-Snap. It's a special type of Patagonia, really wanted it, couldn't afford it, okay? Started researching the sector, realized something called clothing graders or salvage vendors. I found one in New Jersey who was willing to sell me 1,000 pounds of clothing every single month, specifically Patagonia. So what I would do is I'd buy the Patagonia, I'd bring it to local cleaners, we'd have it cleaned, photographed, listed online. We were selling it for about 6 to 8x the price we were buying it for. And we started expanding into other brands, Hunter Rain Boots, Birkenstocks, all different types of brands like that. And we actually got our own 24,000 square foot warehouse. But the interesting thing was every single item that we were listing online had a Goodwill sticker on it. So we started researching and realized the item was actually being put to the store floor. It wasn't selling. It was being sold to a salvage vendor who was grading it. We were then buying it for pennies on the dollar, and we were selling it for at least 6 to 8x the price. So we sold that business and we started Upright to help Goodwills, to help other secondhand retailers get more value out of their donated product stream. So that's why we started this, and there's a little background on myself. Again, if anyone has any questions on any of this, please put in the chat and we'll answer questions at the end as well. So let's dive into e-commerce. At the end of the day, when you look at e-commerce, it's all about efficiency, okay? If you have the right framework laid, the whole thing is that how much more efficiency can you get out of it means you can get more revenue. We have seen clients of ours who, when they start with us, they'll be doing a few $100,000 a month in revenue, and they can get up to a few $1 million a month in revenue because they already have a framework. So e-commerce is not how many people are you getting into your store, it's how much product can you push through your existing framework because customers are already online. So we're gonna dive through 3 main topics today. One is automation, the next is logistics, and the third is data-driven operating procedures. And with that, we're gonna dive into even some subcategories. One of those is being listing strategies, okay? And that's how you can automate your pricing. The next is store communication. The biggest failure we see in secondhand thrift with e-com is when stores are left in the dark. They have no idea what's happening with their e-commerce operation. The next we're going to talk through is dynamic templates. This is a big thing, especially for training. We're going to talk through inventory locations, pick, pack, and ship, employee tracking, reporting in the business intelligence tools and open APIs, concurrent listings, watermarks, as well as buy online, pick up in store. So the first, let's dive into automation. And we're going to hit on 5 things. But let's first start with listing strategies. So what a listing strategy does, and all different softwares have these, but this is a video of our specific one. A listing strategy will say, okay, I have a piece of art. I want to list art, let's say to eBay for $29.99. We're going to list it for 7 days. If it doesn't sell, we're going to list it again on eBay, and we're going to decrease the price 10%. If it doesn't sell, we're now going to route it to Facebook Marketplace. If it doesn't sell, route it back to eBay. And what you can do is you can actually have the system route at different prices based on different rules, based on different categories to get you the most value out of the products that you have. If an item doesn't sell, you can then purge it out of your inventory to make sure those items aren't just sitting on your shelves for months and months on end. We saw one client who hadn't purged inventory in over 3 years because the process was too cumbersome. So one thing you're gonna wanna look at if you already have an e-commerce operation is with your listing strategies, are you listing every single item at the same price? A lot of people, before they start working with Upright, they will default to a $7.99, a $9.99, or a $12.99 starting price. We do not believe in that. We believe that you should do A/B testing for every single category you list online. So if you're listing art, you should not be listing at $9.99. You should probably be listing it at $19.99 or $29.99. And here's the reason. There are certain items that you're selling that may only have one person bid on them. If only one person bids on it, they're gonna get it at the starting price. But if you do A/B testing over months at a time, and you can figure out what the optimal price is, you can actually add value back in without listing more product. One of our clients actually saved over 30% of their time, which is about 20 hours a week. And they also added over $30,000 in additional monthly revenue, not by listing any more product, just by changing the rules on a category by category basis. So I'd heavily looking at your category rules of whatever software you're using. If you're not already using one, look at your existing plans to see how you can change the pricing on a category by category basis. Then let's talk through dynamic templates, okay? So when you actually go to list an item, it's very important that you have consistency across all your listings, okay? So if I go to list, say, direct to eBay, and I have, let's say, this pen with me, I may list this as a black and white Sharpie, okay? But if John goes ahead and lists this online, he may list this as a fine point, good condition, black and white expo marker, right? Because he's just using a static template. But what a lot of systems have is you should look at something called dynamic templates. And this is where it will actually guide a lister through what inputs are actually required. And we can see here, it's actually asking for Legos what the weight is. It's asking the type, and it's asking the condition. And this system will then auto-suggest a title and auto-suggest a description for you. And there's a few reasons that's important. One is for employee training. Instead of just telling an employee, hey, go describe this item, good luck, the system's actually asking for specific inputs. When they go to click preview, it will make sure all the items are formatted in the same way. And most importantly, it's for SEO, right? SEO is search engine optimization. And this makes sure that the customers who are looking for items actually find them online. So if you have consistency across all your listings, the right attributes added in, it's a higher likelihood that the right customer will find the item and they'll pay the most amount of money for it. And then let's talk about concurrent listings, okay? So this is a big thing in the whole new goods sector, right? If I have a phone, I can list it on 10 different marketplaces at the same time because I have 100 units of the same phone. Whereas in secondhand, you have 1 unit, you have 1 unit, right? You don't have 100 units of the exact same product. And this is something that only recently was able to be done for everything outside of the book sector. And concurrent listings allow you to describe an item once, and you can list it as a fixed price on multiple marketplaces. So you describe it once, and then you can list it as buy it now on eBay, on Facebook, on Shopify, all the different marketplaces to get more views on it, right? Because you've already listed it once, now you want to get it to all the different marketplaces, but you do not want to do it manual. If you are listing manually to all these marketplaces, you will have a double sale. Double sale can get you kicked off all these marketplaces. 3 strikes on eBay and you're thrown off. So by using a software to automate your concurrent listings, if an item sells on one marketplace, it will automatically delist from the rest. And then watermarks. This is actually a really interesting thing. This is called retail arbitrage. And what people are doing is they go online, they will buy products from your specific website, and they will relist them on other platforms, okay? And by actually adding a watermark to your listing, it's doing a few things. One, it will actually increase your marketing because now your brand name is on different marketplaces on the photo. It also will ensure people are not buying your item and then resell them on different marketplaces. A handful of our customers, previous to putting the watermarks in place, what they were seeing is customers would buy an item and they would then change the shipping address for them a few days later. That is retail arbitrage. What these people are basically doing is they're drop shipping items. So they will go ahead and bid on your item. They will list the exact same item on eBay, on Shopify, on different marketplaces. Once it sells in the other marketplace, they will then tell you the shipping address of their customer, and they never touch the product. So by adding these watermarks, it reduces the potential for retail arbitrage, and you can actually get more value from them because then you can list in other marketplaces and find that end customer that your customer was actually bringing to you. And let's talk through BOBUS for a second. So BOBUS is a concept that you probably all have seen for in-store, right? And for new goods. BOBUS is a concept that a lot of used goods sectors have not really entered into. It's now 100% possible. And there's a few reasons why. One is that the technology for actually launch your own store like Shopify or BigCommerce is now here and it's now available for anyone to be able to use. The other aspect of it is you can actually integrate directly with your POS system and you can reserve online and actually pay in person. And that reduces the whole double sale potential, right? So let's go ahead and actually watch a video what I mean by that. Before we do this, I just want to show 2 different screenshots. If you were to do buy online, pickup in store, you need very few details of information. You're putting the title of an item, you're putting a description, you're selecting your category, your price, and your location. Way fewer information points than shipping. And the reason for that is you don't need the item weight. You don't need the dimensions. The customer has to come in and buy it in person. Now, say for instance, we want to go ahead and actually reserve this item online. The customer would go to your specific website, they would enter their information in, they would choose their pickup date and time, and they would click reserve now. Once they were to do that, it would click success, and the item has now been reserved, okay? The most important thing with that, again, is you're not having a double sale because the customer is not paying until they come in person. If you do want to enable payment online, you absolutely can. And what we've seen a lot of thrift stores do as well is the customer can enter all the information in, they enter their credit card, and they click checkout. But when they click checkout, the system actually does not charge their credit card. Instead, the system sends an automated email to the store saying, do you have this item? The store then looks for the item. If it's not in a customer's cart and is on the store floor, they will then message back, yes, we have this item, or click check mark accept, and they'll go put that item aside. Then once they clicked accept, or we have this item, then it charges the customer's credit card. That way the customer knows beforehand, It may be sold prior to you actually being charged. You're not going to be charged today. You're just clicking checkout, but we're not charging your card until the store has confirmed. So there's two options there. Again, the customer can pay online, but they're not being charged until the store has confirmed they have it. And the other option is you can reserve online and pay in store. Both options drive more traffic into your store floor. We saw one Goodwill, South Florida. They were actually able to drive in 90% of the customers from our buy online, pick up in store. 90% had never been to a Goodwill before. So it is brand new customers that were never actually in your store prior. And again, there's all different ways to enable this, but via Upright Local, we have it for Shop Goodwill, eBay, and Shopify. And there's tons of other systems out there that you could use to integrate directly with your POS system as well. And now let's look at the logistics side of it, okay? Like I was talking about before, the biggest failure in secondhand e-com is when the stores do not have an insight into what's happening in the e-commerce operation, okay? Stores need visibility. Stores don't have visibility, they're not gonna send product in, and that product coming in is the lifeblood of e-com. The one thing that you can immediately do is called manifests. You either use digital manifests, which you can see on my screen, or you can use paper manifests. And what digital manifests will allow you to do is an employee at their store would say, I have, say for instance, Air Jordans. They would type into the digital manifest, I have Air Jordans, add multiple items on that manifest, they click save. Once that manifest gets to e-com and they start accepting the items, they can accept and reject the items. But since it was created at the store, you now have metrics on which store employee found the item, which now allows you to track all the way through to see how much revenue actually that store employee actually found initially, right? Because let's say, for instance, John was at store A, he found this item, he put on a manifest. It goes all the way through to e-com, it gets listed online, it's sold. Well, since we have that data, we can pass back, it's sold for $100, all the way back to store A to John. So all those metrics that John and Darlene were talking about in the last two webinars about how you can look at employee metrics and productivity, e-commerce metrics can also be passed back both to the store level, but also the individual employee level. And you can see acceptance and rejection rates by employee, as well as for the rest of the e-commerce operation. Now let's look at manifest report. Like I was talking before, with all that data, you have visibility into every single thing that's happening with your operation. We can see which items actually came from the store to e-commerce, which ones were accepted, which ones were rejected, what day they were processed at, how much they were processed for. All that data is available to you if you use digital manifests. Of course, you use paper manifests, you can still collect it, but it would be a much more manual process. One of the most important things with digital manifests, even beyond the store visibility, is e-commerce visibility. It's giving e-commerce insight into what products actually coming into them so they can prepare their workforce, right? So if e-commerce sees that every single store this week is sending in 500 items for the entire week, they need to ramp up production to be able to handle that inbound flow. But if for a week they see that inbound product flow is lower, they can send an alert out to all stores saying, hey, send more product in. So it's a visibility on both ways, both for the store and for e-com, to see what product's coming in, what's not, to make it, as efficient and streamlined of an operation as possible. So now let's talk through inventory locations. If an item comes through from your store, right, and you want to list it online, some people use, we've seen Post-it notes, where they're actually writing physical information on Post-it notes and put on the shelf. Big waste of time. The second biggest waste of time is physically writing anything in e-com. Nothing should be physically written on a piece of paper. Everything should be digital, because now software is available out there for you, no matter what kind of thing you want to do, but also just a waste of time to manually write it down and then enter at later stages. So the video you're seeing on my screen is where if you have an item, instead of having to go into the system and write down what inventory location is or go onto a shelf to see what's available, you are just scanning items into shelf locations. Now, this is really important because it tracks which employee actually scanned it into the shelf location. So you have visibility into who's using which shelf, and they don't need to fight over what shelves are available. They just go into the warehouse, find an open spot, scan an item into a shelf location, and all your locations should have barcodes. If your locations do not have barcodes, I would heavily look at that immediately, of getting barcode locations for all your shelves. That way you can scan items into those shelves. The next most important thing with the shelf location and item barcodes is a ring scanner. A lot of people will just have a regular barcode scanner, which is fine, but a ring scanner is a Bluetooth scanner that you will literally just wear on your finger, okay? That way you can be holding a mobile device, you have it on your finger, and you can go up to an item, scan it, go to a shelf and scan it. It's way more ergonomic than other barcode scanners. You don't need to just hold it in your hand, right? Just on your finger, you can type, you can do anything you need. It has up to a 15-foot range on it, and this can connect with any device, whether those are iPhones, computers, tablets, makes it way more efficient. This is the barcode scanner that Amazon used to use, right? So that all their employees had this, it would connect directly with a handheld device. So if you want to actually improve your efficiency, if you already have systems in place, you can actually just go on Amazon, type in a ring scanner Bluetooth. They're only $80. So even if they break after a few months, it's okay. You can get a new one. So we see a lot of people now moving towards this. The scanner can, swivel, so it makes it very easy to use as well. And then pick, pack, and ship. This is an area we see a lot of inefficiency when we initially go into clients' operations, is looking at how to streamline this is a major quick win for all of our clients. And so what you want to be looking at is your organization using printed pick slips? You actually don't need to. A lot of customers are now being accustomed to not needing physical pick slips, and you can actually use it all digital. And what you can do instead of printing out your pick slips, put it on a tablet, scan that pick slip, scan that packing slip, and it will generate everything for you, and you can ship the item without the packing slip. If you're worried about higher value items, of course you can ship items with $500 value or $1,000 value with a packing slip. But anything less is probably fine. You'll save on paper. Customers will appreciate it because they're actually reducing their waste. And a lot of customers with Amazon already don't have those packing slips for you. The other thing you want to look at is, are you shipping with one carrier? We see a lot of people be comfortable and they'll just ship with FedEx, or they'll just ship with USPS. That's fine if you're a smaller scale, but once you start really getting to higher volume, you want to do price comparison across all of your items, across all carriers. So you can easily price compare literally with one click of a button to USPS, to FedEx, to UPS, to DHL, to see who has the lowest price, and then you can go ahead and ship it out. And now when you think about it, the customer has already paid before you're shipping. So the lowest price you can get, that's more margin that you're going to make on your end shipment. And so all you have to do is literally just sort it. Okay, FedEx in this bucket, DHL in this bucket. And at the end of the day, when they come pick up, you just roll the bucket to those trucks. So if you're not already doing that, I would heavily look at doing the price comparison across all the carriers. It also gives you leverage when you negotiate at the end of the year for lower rates. Because if you can go to FedEx and say, hey, we ship 60% of our packages with USPS, they will start working on those prices for you. And now let's look at the data-driven operating procedures. So the one thing that if you're not already doing, I know Darlene and John walked through this on the past webinars, is automated data reports, okay? You should be looking at where the bottlenecks are occurring. Like I was saying before, e-commerce is all about the framework and how many items can you push through that framework, okay? So there's always gonna be bottlenecks that arise. So you wanna look at your photography, you wanna look at your manifesting stage, you wanna look at your posting stage, your shelving stage, your purging, your shipping, to see where the efficiencies are, where the bottlenecks are in every single step, as well as for employees. We've actually seen that some of our customers, when they started looking at this report, they started to see a drop off right after lunch for that first hour. And so they actually started to put in incentives and ways to push their employees harder after their lunch break, and they have seen all their numbers actually spike now. So looking at these metrics is extremely important. If you want to integrate with a business intelligence tool, of course you can use an API to pull it in, but you definitely want to look at these metrics to see where those bottlenecks are, to see how you can push more product through your existing supply chain. And then reporting and business intelligence tool. While it's good to see all those things and really dive into it, you also want to make sure you have high-level snapshots of what's going on at any single point, right? So you want to see what your total sales are across all your marketplaces per day, how many orders you have to fulfill, right? Because if you ship orders too late, you're going to get bad reviews in the marketplaces. So having insight into how much sales you've done, how many orders you need to ship out, how many items are unprocessed, how many items can you purge off your shelves, right? This is an area of purging that you'll probably just let sit because it's not a revenue generator, except it is, because it's extra shelf that you could use for other products, and you can take multiple purged items, you can lie them together and sell them for more money. You then want to look at how much revenue each poster is making. You don't want to spend tons of time generating those reports. It's really important that you have dashboards that will automatically update every minute for you, as well as revenue by store to see how the stores are doing. And then you constantly want to make sure you're giving the stores insight into the top 50 items sold across all your stores, across all your vendors. So stores and vendors can see what items to send in, what items not to send in, okay? We believe over-communicate data versus under-communicate. That's why you'll see different business intelligence dashboards like this. Very important to share across the board. And so that's the overview of the e-commerce. I didn't want to go too in depth of it. I wanted to leave it more to questions to really dive into specific points. And just a high level overview, Upright has 3 areas. We have our Upright Lister, which is our multi-channel e-commerce listing software and inventory management warehouse. We have our Upright Services, where we go in and design and re-optimize over 2 million square feet of space. And then our Upright Local. This is the buy online, pick up in store, or reserve online, pick up in store. What questions can John, myself, or Darlene answer for anyone?
Thanks, David. That was great. I might have to get one of those ring scanners just for around the house.
Yeah, it's great.
They're pretty cool.
Look into it.
I had a question just about, you said how people will buy something and then change the address and ship it to somebody else. Can you prevent them from changing the address, or
yeah,
is that not really done?
You can, but it's a bad customer experience, right? If the customer says, oh,
Okay.
I want to change my address, because they're not telling you they're doing retail arbitrage, right? They are just,
Yeah.
you know, it's the wrong address, ship it to me. So you could do that, but you don't want negative reviews. So it's really about how can you get the most value out of your item? How can you dissuade people from doing it? And that's where the watermarks come in. That's where actually routing it to the right marketplace is a big deal.
Yeah. Are there any questions out there? Nothing's coming through.
Sounds like everyone's e-commerce expert, which is great. You know, the one thing to note, and I've seen this a handful of times just to keep in mind, is that people will say our donations have already been maxed out. We have no more product flow. Yeah, I understand that, but there's actually ways to get more product, whether that's buying back from salvage vendors, buying from liquidation and closeout vendors, which a handful of our Goodwills do, and getting those items listed online, because you already have the framework. The whole goal is how can you get more through it? So if you think you've maxed out your donation stream, you haven't. There's ways to buy more product. There's ways to source more. And if you feel like you've already optimized your e-com, there's ways to grow, right? We have one of our clients who they're trying to go from, a few $100,000 a month in revenue to a few $1 million a month in revenue. And we're building out their entire e-commerce for them. Everything from soup to nuts, hiring employees. So there's ways to grow, there's ways to scale. And e-commerce is just at the infancy. So keep pushing, keep innovating. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, John, or Darlene, and we'll be happy to answer how all this can integrate and how it all can work together.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks to the panel.
Thanks, everyone.